Well, hello there, welcome back. II Racing League, live on Twitch, second time this week. As you can see, at the Circuit of the Americas for round 7 of 18, rapidly approaching the midway point in the season. And here's a fun fact for you, the winner of the last two 81 seasons has been in the lead at the halfway mark. Which means it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks for Deflated Wheat and Josh, who are only separated by 15 points at the top of the leaderboard at the moment. Evening TTD, only on 4 hours sleep, so potentially we may see some mistakes there tonight, but hopefully not. I hope you're all really well. A bit of a disclaimer, I am a little bit unwell at the moment, so if I have to mute my mic, and if I do, it'll be because I'm sneezing or coughing or whatever, and I'll try my best to not get any of that in the stream tonight. Also, thank you very much. It's weird, it felt like COVID last night. I've had COVID twice before and it felt exactly like it. I did a test, I was negative, I was like, what? So, yeah. Gideon spot with brilliant for a Tuesday. There's no such thing, mate. Thank you, mate, thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you for the follow, RP1Zer, who is making his debut here tonight in the Aston Martin. Hope you have the best debut possible. And I have no idea how fast or consistent you are, so you may very well surprise me tonight, who knows. And nice to have you back. Missed the last two races at Belgium and Imola. Lovely to have you back, Zidane, and take us on board of this Circuit of the Americas track. On the run down to turn 1, you have DRS up this crest. You can't actually see the apex when you brake into turn 1, so you need to memorise those corners if you're running no line through turn 2. Pretty straightforward into the S section. Very difficult. Which brings you to the end of the first sector through turns 7 and 8, where this S section continues in turn 9, but the corners widen makes it more prone for mistakes. That fast S section in the start of the lap will favour the wheel users. The rest of the track tends to benefit the pad users a bit more. Out of turn 11 into the roaring sunshine, you get some DRS, and this is where you'll see most of the action points in the races this week. Heavy braking zone all the way down from 8th to 3rd or 2nd gear, just depends on your preference, of the very acute turn 12 into a double right of 13 and 14, and into the very long and tricky turn 15. Don't lose traction on the exit, as you've got a 3 apex right hand corner coming up, where we saw a big incident on Tuesday night involving some of the front runners. I wonder if we'll see any more like that tonight. Zidane then, out of turn 19, gets invalidated by extending track limits. That is very common at this track, and otherwise it would have been on 35.1. See what Killian can do. Last season, Killian won this race from pole position. And an interesting fact about this track in IIRL: the last 3 out of the last 4 races in this league have been won from pole position. So if you get on pole, either you're going to win the race or you're going to crash out, which happened in the 82 race last season. So a little bit of a good omen, perhaps, for those lucky enough to fight for pole position tonight. Kirito sets a 1 minute 34, but that will get beaten by Killian by 7/10 of a second. Onto another man who struggling with illness tonight, Patch, and has changed a few wheel settings. I think 6 in total. So get well soon, Patch, and hopefully the new wheel settings work out for you this evening. Patch goes third fastest, was high as 4th in Q3 on Tuesday night, hoping to keep that spot in the top 3 Top Gun, previously known as Hungry Throne. Currently holding 4th place. Oh, Demon. Oh my word, Demon, that's a joke. IIRL. I love that. That is my kind of joke. Still less of a mouthful. Hissy, 5th fastest at the moment. 35.1. Onto IIRL Greg. I should really ask him how to pronounce his gamer tag. I always keep forgetting. Using the mediums this time around. I'll pop the tie graphic up. And across the line, and currently his lowest time, but still pretty close to Hissy on the mediums, that's not too bad. Asthma Frog goes 5th fastest, half a tenth away from Top Gun, not too bad, head of Hissy. Still plenty of people in the pitch, Josh, Smiley, Adrian, Aya, Wiggles, RP1 Zer, and Zidane after that invalidation on the first attempt, back into the pits. So still not too much action going on out there, but we've got a couple of people on flying laps. TD, E69. Deflator Wee just coming across the line to start a new lap as well. And Snacks doing likewise. TD just navigating, I think, Greg. Could have been E69. TD goes 2nd fast. It's not too bad for a few hours sleep. It is E69 that TD was making his way past there. Going for a fresh run on the medium tyres, as is Deflated Wee. As across the line comes someone. E69 put the banker in, I think. Yeah, of course, Q1, 18 minutes long, in case you're not aware. Bottom 5 will head out. We know Joseph Hales will be joining late, so we will have 20 drivers for the Grand Prix. And depending on when Joseph arrives to the session, it will be either bottom 4 or bottom 5 dropping out, leaving a top 15. Deflated Wee goes 2nd fastest on the mediums. That is a very good lap indeed. And Snacks does a 34.4 and goes 4th. Can you accelerate on neutral and get ERS back? I haven't tried it, as Adrian invalidates that of the S section. So this lap won't count, and he'll have to go again. Yeah, it was Novatech, TJ, who was doing it, but he was last and going for a fastest lap attempt on Sunday night. He didn't get in anyone's way or cause any incidents, so I guess technically it's allowed, but yeah, it's just one of those game mechanics. I don't think we can really do too much about that. Oh, TJ, I know what that comment means. I mean, it's a little bit of a broken concept. Obviously, in this new game, I call it new game now, in this current F1 game, you can't do back-to-back flying laps because you tend to use about 70, maybe even 80% of your ERS per lap when it's on the hot lap setting. So going in neutral to quickly regain it could actually be a strategy of smartness and intelligence rather than what some people would call cheating. I would say it's allowed unless anyone convinces me otherwise. We have a spinning Ferrari just in the foreground of Zer's lap. That's Aya, yet to set a time, and that one obviously won't be too good. Zer goes 4th fastest on his debut, pretty good. Keeping company with TD and Snacks and Carito, that is no easy feat at all. Start of the lap was bad, says Snacks. Surprised about his lap. So maybe Snacks can go even faster. Adrian pops up in there into 2nd place, only a 10th away from Killian to make it 2 McLarens in the top 3. Don't worry, TJ, I switch off when Snacks starts talking. Wiggles 6th fastest, separating Zer and Snacks. Bruh. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just kidding. E69 improved from the banker lap of, I think, 1 minute 51 or whatever it was. 12 fastest now on the mediums. TD's retired in the pits, but up there in 4th place. Looks very likely that he'll be going through to Q2. Want some more view on Sunday and you spin, mate? I'll spin whether you're watching me or not. And you know it as well. Joseph Hales is here. I did miss him join, apologies. And using the medium compound tyre, so must be pretty confident. And Josh has popped in on the medium tyres into P5. Joseph Hales has lagged out. That is not ideal with only... how long left of the session? Please go away, yellow flag. 4 minutes left. Smaller Smiley invalidates, goes into neutral, regains some of that energy. He should be alright to get another lap on the board. But obviously this may not be Smaller Smiley's best attempt, having already done a lap on those soft tyres, so they will be a little bit worn, and the ERS won't be at its maximum stage. Joseph Hales, no force feedback and black screen glitch. Just keep joining, leaving and rejoining, and see if it fixes. But yeah, hope all the problems disappear for you, mate. As it stands, Greg is in the drop zone. The only one set a time who is in the drop zone. Time to beat right now is a 1 minute 35.1 from Hissy, so Greg is well within reach of that. And Padra Tyres in 10th might be a little bit nervous towards the end of the session. Evening deflated. Feel horrific at the minute. What about next minute? Are you better now? Wow, I've not seen a nickname stick that quickly. Deflated. I'm not gonna lie, it's a fantastic nickname. So Smaller Smiley on not a full tank of ERS. Oh, cuts the final corner, and that's 17th, so unless he has enough fuel to go for one final lap, that will be Smaller Smiley's session over, and that rank of the wheel. That's not a word, but I'm using it. Suggests that maybe his Q1 is over. And the best he can hope for is 17th. Aya, with that early spin, has now followed it up with invalidation. So Aya possibly has one more run left to get through here. Definitely worse nicknames, I completely agree. And Zidane invalidates at turn 19. Has one more run, but only 20% ERS, so this is looking a little bit optimistic for Zidane to get through on this run, but I've seen stranger things happen. Oh, and bit of a mistake into turn 4 there, and Zidane, retires out on track. That's a little bit naughty. Joseph still in the pits, has managed to rejoin, but obviously will be heading out in this session. And so really it's just Aya versus Smaller and Greg. Hissy's out there, Top Gun's out there. Not expecting Top Gun to be heading out of Q1. This could push the likes of E69 and Felix down if these bottom 4 or 5 manage to improve their times. But Zidane, Joseph 2, we definitely know heading out in this session. Top Gun to the line and goes 13th fastest, so has a little bit of breathing room behind, with E69 now dropping beneath. But Top Gun not mathematically safe right now. Smaller pits, so that'll be his session over. I think Top Gun now is officially safe. And Hissy has backed off the time, so Greg comes across the line and puts Hissy out of quali. But Greg isn't safe. If Aya can get a lap time quicker than Greg, Greg will be out instead. Completely agree, Joseph. Could not agree more. Unlucky, mate. So checker flag has fallen. Hissy on a slow lap will not be able to improve and will be out in, at the moment, 16th place. Unless his teammate can beat him, then he'll be down to 17th. And Aya goes 13th fastest and drops Greg out by 31 milliseconds. E69 has scraped through on those medium compound tyres. Hey Zidane, you've been off for 2 weeks, mate. So, yeah, give yourself a bit of leeway. Not sure how much you practiced, obviously, but when you have a couple of weeks off, it's going to take a little bit of time, a few laps to get back to your best. So, don't judge that as where you're at. We know you can do some great stuff in this tier. Smaller Smiley then 18th place after a late invalidation, left himself with not enough ERS for his lap. Hissy and Greg not too far away from making it through, but just dropping out, unfortunately. It'll be Killian. Tell you a bit more about Killian as a person in the 5-minute break after quali before the race. So E69 takes a rather wide line through turn 20 and sets off in Q2. Only 3 in the pits so far, so that means 12 of them out. 12 minutes to go. Let the action begin. Just like in Q1, it's not about who's the fastest, it's who's not the slowest, I guess. Top 10 will go through to Q3 for a 12-minute shootout. Just trying to get round and still mess it up. It happens, mate. This track is notoriously bad for penalties. On Tuesday, we saw all of the top 5 have 6 seconds of time penalties. I think that's the first ever time in this league that that's ever happened. So this track is notoriously bad for invalidations, warnings and time penalties, so don't beat yourself up too much. And talking of invalidations, E69, the latest person to go wide and get their lap time scrubbed off. Mr. Wiggles then takes charge, being the first one to set a time on the board. You saw E69 there go into neutral and regain some ERS. Mr. Wiggles sets us off by doing a lap time similar to Killian last time out in Q1. 33.7, Felix with a 35.2. Oh, and plenty happening here. Asthma Frog spinning. Or is that Snacks spinning? No, it's Asthma Frog, TD slowing down. Back into the pits. Page entering. A very long right-hander. And running wide at 19. Not the first to do it, and certainly not the last. Aya comes across the line to go 5th, and Padge has this and next lap invalidated, so this lap won't count either from Padge, as we see Adrian heading back out onto the track. E69 saved up some ERS, it would seem, as Killian goes 4 tenths quicker than what he did in Q1. That's a bit of a mistake from E69, just got on the outside curb and car didn't turn in. Oh, and that's a spin through 17, so that'll be an end to this flying lap. I imagine E69 will probably pit for a new set of tyres now. And Snacks opting for the medium compounds. Oh, and just running wide at turn 19 as well. It's a very common thing at the moment. And to my knowledge, no one is on a flyer right now. But so far, Killian picking up where he left off last season. Got pole position and the race win in 81 in Season 3. Season 4, he is so far so good. Many things right since joining this league in, I believe, Season 2. Very impressive point scoring record, and was tipped to challenge for a title here in IIRL. Hasn't attended all the races so far, so he's not currently in the fray. And it is a shorter season, so maybe Season 5 next season will be Adrian's goal. I did not mess your lap up, Snacks. Don't worry, I know what you mean. Deflator Wee is out on there, getting his first lap time on the board as well, and Adrian goes second fastest, 0.6. Had a Mr. Wiggles, not too bad. That should safely see him through to Q3. What about Deflated Mupper then? If you can nail a lap, this track is very good, deflated wheat, using controller. It tends to be a more pad-friendly track. However, that first sector is definitely easier on the wheel. Even me, who is extremely slower on the wheel, found it a lot more advantageous being on the wheel in that opening sector, but deflated wheat proving me wrong with a 33.2 and goes quickest, and obviously that will see we into Q3. Nice little rhyme there. Asthma Frog out of the opening sector, thrusting the throttle to the circuit floor, opening the DRS to make you faster in a straight line. Five minutes left of Q2, so it is getting to that point now where a lot of those people in the pits may come out. Some have already come out for their final flying run. See Top Gun just coming out of the pits now as we speak. And plenty of people on lap times at the moment. 4 still to set a time. Although across the line comes someone. Someone in a blue car. I think no. Maybe TD to do a 33.8. That's a pretty good lap from TD. Asthma Frog does a 34.8 and currently is the time to beat, so it is safe, but with E69 on a new lap, Padge coming to the end of his lap might find himself in a battle here. Snacks does a 34.8 on the medium compound tyre, so you think he'll need to go onto the softs to get through. And that is wide from Padge, so I believe into the pits. New set of tyres. Get some more fuel in that car. Adrian retires in 4th place. I'm sure he'll be through with that 33.6 though. A 33 should definitely see you through here, even though there's more people in the top 10 on a 33 than a 34. Felix then, around turn 12 to cross the sector 2 split, and almost 4/10 to the good. So good enough right now for around a 34.8, which is kind of what he needs to beat either of those two Mercedes cars as TD retires. E69 does a 33.8 and pops himself up into 7th place. Pretty good. Should see him through. And there comes Felix, and it's 9th place, a 34.5, so made more improvements in that final sector. And now into the top 10. Now Top Gun is in the pit along with Snacks and Asthma Frog, so they will all three need to go out and try and get a good qualifying spot. Carito has invalidated this attempt, but should have enough fuel to go for another run. Switching out the mediums for the softs, only a marginal improvement in the first sector, so must have made a slight mistake. Those soft tyres will give more grip than the mediums. As Asthma Frog retires in the pits, and 12th will be the best that he can hope for qualifying here tonight. See Padge in the background. Nope, Padge is coming to start a new lap. That's Felix in the background there, just weaving. 1 minute left of the session before the checker flag falls, and no more times can be started. IIRL invalidating at turn 19. Not the last time you'll hear that this week. Did do a 34.0, which would have put him up into 8th place, so definitely has the pace, but with very few ERS now, that opportunity might be his last to get through. Padge currently without a time on the board. Felix boxes, so 9th will be the best that he can hope for. But still, plenty of opportunity for Felix and Top Gun to get through. There is a 2/10 gap back to Snacks, but Snacks is out there on the soft tyres right now, and coming to the end of his time where he sets a going for a new lap. Zer then, half a second up in the middle sector. Good enough so far for a mid-34. Any more improvement and can find himself very safe, and that's a 34.1 up to 9th place. Kirito does a 33.8 and possibly putting himself safe in quali. Snacks as Padge goes into the top 10 with a 34.2 ahead of his teammate and pushes Felix out. Asmafrog now down to 14th unless I can improve by 3 or 4 tenths. This lap done on 20% ERS, so I will do very well to improve here. And does. That's a very good lap considering, but he still unfortunately stays 15th. As here comes Top Gun now. 2 tenths to the good in the middle sector and pushes Padge out of quali by 600ths. And what about Snacks now? His first run was done on the mediums. Now switching out for the quicker soft compound tyre. Needs to beat Top Gun's 134.165. Zer also, actually Zer is safe. Just Snacks now that can dethrone Top Gun, and does. Snacks squeaks into Q3 with a 33.8. And Zer, on his debut, gets through to Q3 by a couple of hundredths of a second. Top Gun there, pretty unlucky to drop out by that much. That was a struggle, said Snacks. Well, it was a struggle worth struggling. And 9 of the top 10 all in the 1 minute 33s, and only 7 tenths separating the top 9. That is pretty close, if you ask me. Last season in quali, the top 4 was separated by just over a tenth of a second, so we could see another very close qualifying here in AT1. Gun qualifying in P11, just missing out on the spot in Q3 by a couple of hundredths of a second. Up at the top, top 4 only separated by a couple of tenths, similar to what we saw last season, and very close in that midfield between TD, E69, Kirito and Snacks. Adrian in 5th, separating those 2 clunks of drivers, and on his debut doing well to get through in the top 10. Evening Novatech, hope you're well, mate. 1 minute 32 in quali, we saw a 1 minute 33.2 in Q2, so there is potential to have a 1 minute 32 in quali here tonight. Bet your channel points, either yes or no, will pay out at the end of quali. Don't forget, if you click on the channel points icon, you can spend your channel points when you've got enough for certain things. You get channel points by watching the streams, and if you subscribe, I believe you get a percentage bonus for your channel points. But not too long left on the prediction, so make sure you get your channel points in there. So once again, E69 leading the pack. Cluster of drivers just coming through to start Sector 3 now on their outlaps, including Killian, deflated wee snacks, and I think TD at the back of that train. Adrian just coming out of the pits, still need to move out of the way of the drivers behind who've just started a time lap. Important you do that, otherwise you may be reported to the stewards and it could be an instant 5-second time penalty for you. But everyone out on track. Minor, in case you missed it earlier, 3 out of the last 4 IRL races here at Circuit of the Americas have been won from pole position, so pole position here seems pretty useful, and we'll see who can rise to the occasion. And Killian has ruined my prediction already. 32.9, deflated wee, half a second off the pace, almost 6/10 off with a 33.4, and ordinarily that would be a pretty good lap. But Killian on the grid at the moment, seems like he could be the pole master for season 4. E69 with a 33.8, TD with a 34.1, and Snacks with a 34.6. RP10 33.6, better than what he managed last session, so is improving, is getting quicker all the time, feeling his way into the sessions, and currently rewarded with a very handsome P3 right now. But we've got Mr. Wiggles and Josh on flying runs right now, which could spoil the party for RP10. Wiggles, only 3rd fastest at the moment. Used to get in pole positions here. I believe he still has the record for the most in this league. It might be Tamino. Tamino and Wiggles have been trading that title for the best part of a whole season now. And Josh this season has surpassed 10 pole positions in his IRL career. Certainly no stranger to P1. Looks good. It's a 33.2, but not pole position right now, but it's good enough for a spot on the front row of the grid. And there's a nice little healthy 2/10 advantage back to deflated wee. So Josh once again delivering the goods. Unfortunately for him, he'll need to find almost 4/10 of a second if he wants to get provisional pole. As for Killian, he'll be aiming to extend his grip on provisional pole as well when he comes back out of the pits. On board then with Adrian, who went out later. Carito coming back out on the track very recently. They'll be hoping for a time on the board sooner rather than later. Not an ideal first lap, was shocking to be honest. The deflated wee will still 6/10 to find to get a provisional pole. Potentially, if the lap was that bad, there might be some hope for you. Certainly expecting improved laps from TD and Snacks as well. They managed to 33 in Q2, so we know they can go quicker. Ooh, a bit of a snap and a wiggle from Adrian there towards the end of Sector 1, and interesting to see how much, if any, time that would have cost him. You know what? Killian's frustrated me. He's ruined my prediction. We'll do another prediction in the 5-minute break. So, Carito just coming round to start a new lap now. Adrian well on his way to getting a lap time on the board. Everyone else in the pits. And Adrian, surprisingly, heading into the pits, so maybe that snap in Sector 1 cost him a whole bunch of time and maybe didn't like his lap. Decided to go in and get a new set of tyres. Not a bad call, to be honest. But it means that the pressure will be on Adrian now. Currently in P9. Finished that lap, he may have been in the top 6 or 7. Joseph Hales, I lost everything. Every single setting. Setups, assist got reset. Wheel settings and camera settings. Still doesn't feel 100%. Game went back to the beginning. So sometimes it does that, but then sometimes it comes back. I don't know if it's worth a reset or something, or if you've already fixed it. I don't know, but that is yeah, that's happened to a few other people, and it's very annoying when that happens. Obviously, we hope that for the race you have a very comfortable one in terms of settings and assists and stuff. Across the line then, Carito does a 33.4, puts him ahead of Deflated Wee by 6 milliseconds. That's pretty good. Red Bull 2-3 right now, as people start to filter back out onto the track for their final flying stints. TD the first of which, E69 joining him, no one else budging at the moment out of the pits. But keep our ears open for that one. We are finishing Season 4, I would say relatively early. Just in case there's a ridiculously early release date for the new game. But, you know, we could do some exhibition races after the season's done. Maybe like a last hurrah. Do some weird and wonderful events that we didn't manage to do in the course of the season. Maybe we might stream them, who knows. So TD E69 on flying laps. Carito has just completed a flying lap, so I doubt he'd be on another one back to back. Might be driving around in neutral for a bit, get some ERS back for a final hurrah. Everyone out on the track. Carito has just gone into the pits, so that'll be an end to his quali session. And once again, we are seeing the Alpine slipstream in full effect as TD gets a nice little slipstream from Killian, and TD might have gained as much as 2 or 3 tenths just on that back straight. TD though through the middle sector, almost 6 tenths to the good, on for a mid 1 minute 33 right now, which would put him around about Deflated Wee and Mr. Wiggles. And of course them two are also out improving potentially. We haven't checked them yet. E69 going slowly, and he is on the flying lap here, so might have invalidated, might have backed off. It's TD, end of the lap, and goes second fastest. I was certainly not expecting that. He said he's on 4 hours sleep. Call him the Night Watchman. Actually, don't call him that. That's a pretty lame nickname, to be honest. Josh on an outlap. Game says he's on a lap, but he is on an outlap. Where did that nickname come from? I don't know. So Josh sets off to get himself back onto the front row of the grid. TD in Dreamland, certainly E69 didn't make the line in time, so we'll have to make do for P8 on the grid. Yeah, we saw the slipstream on the stream. As this time, TD is giving Killian the slipstream of dreams. These Alpines working in beautiful tandem, and if they keep this up, they might be on for Constructors' Championship glory this season, as Killian through the middle sector is improving, and he's only improving by 400ths, but considering he's already 3/10ths quicker than everyone else, that is certainly a good lap that he is on. We'll stay on board with Killian though through the rest of this lap. Zer finishes in P8 as Adrian pops onto the front row of the grid with a 33.1. That is a brilliant lap under pressure, as Snacks does a 33.5 and puts himself into P7. And what can Killian do? It is quicker, but only by a slight fraction, which means that there may still be an opportunity here for Josh to fight back. Mr. Wiggles has finished in 7th place, overtaking Snacks by 100th of a second, as TD obviously pits after giving Killian that monster slipstream, as Deflated Wee goes quickest by 1 millisecond. And who would have thought Killian would be dethroned? And then Josh goes quickest. Pole position roundabout here tonight, as 3 different people held it in the last 10 seconds of the quali session. Josh with a miracle in the USA, snatching pole position from Deflated Wee, who held it for a matter of moments from Killian, who thought he had it the whole session long. Absolutely phenomenal drama towards the end of Q3 of this league. Josh snatching pole position. Deflated Wee and Killian will feel hard done by that their lap times didn't get them on pole position here tonight. Adrian with a great lap at the end, and TD with that monster slipstream from his teammate. Well-deserved top 5 there. Carito, Wiggles, Snacks, Zer and E69. Certainly pretty decent laps by the standards, but those top 3 were just out of this world. If you're going to get the prediction wrong, get it 3 times wrong. And talking to Killian, we thought he was going to get pole position here tonight. Ended up P3 at the very last moments. But let's take you through his featured driver form. So Killian is 18 years of age, born in Austria, lives in Scotland right now. Works at Costco handing out food samples to people. Great shop, Costco. Love that. The chicken nuggets are immense. His hobbies and interests include F1, Celtic, the football club, and stats. I guess that's statistics. Maybe he enjoyed my stats earlier on in the stream. Racing on the wheel, TX base with the Ferrari open wheel add-on. Favourite driver, Sebastian Vettel, obviously won't be on the grid for this season, so yeah, happy retirement, Vettel. Favourite track is Monaco. That's slightly surprising. You don't see that many often, but we do have Monaco in the second half of the season, so maybe we'll see a bit of a Killian masterclass there. As for his racing strengths, he says qualifying pace, clean driving, which includes no time penalties, no incidents, and also time management. And this season, his season 4 goals is aiming for the championship. As for his rivals, well, just coincidentally, the 2 other drivers that joined him on the front row of the grid tonight, Wee and Josh. As for his driver stats, he's done 10 races in this league, got 4 pole positions, 3 wins, 8 podiums, 9 times in the points, and a win tonight would put him above 200 points in this league. And considering he's only been here for a very short space of time, has definitely cemented his place as one of the quickest in this league, with only very few races behind his back. So that's Killian for you. Not just a fast gamer tag. And indeed, Killian has readied up too soon. There won't be a restart if everyone has got their settings and is at their wheel or controller. The way we say it is, if no one is affected, we carry on. So no formation lap, this race will get underway and hopefully everyone is still here. It looks like everyone's got off the grid nicely, as we have Kurito with an absolutely fantastic start up the inside. Deflated Wee and Josh going side by side, and no silly antics. Out in the background we've got a couple 2 or 3 wide, a couple losing ground, smaller Smiley, Padge, a couple of those to get overtaken in the midfield out of the first corner. But so far so good, everyone looks like they're all good. I think Joseph Hill's had a bit of a spin, but with the game screwing him over today, that kind of could be a byproduct of that. Let's get the tyre strategy on the screen. Everyone on the hard compound tyres, with the exception of Zidane in 13th place, who is opting for the medium compound tyres, and Josh looking to get a nice little advantage on Deflated Wee. Number 3 of the last 4 pole sitters in IIRL have gone on to win this Grand Prix. Several theories as to why that is. Lovely move there from E69 down the inside of Adrian, as we have plenty of action in the midfield. Down the inside, Felix is looking on Asma Frog, but Asma Frog with the outside line gets some better traction. And another spinner, Top Gun this time, out of turn 17. Asma Frog defending from Felix, and here comes Greg now down the inside on the final corner on Felix and up into 14th place. Still very close, as Kurito in the last couple of moments has got his way past Deflated Wee up into P2. And so far it's been a Red Bull riot. Josh now, with all the action happening behind him, is starting to pull a very healthy advantage. Last thing Deflated Wee wants to do now is break too late into a corner, nudge Kurito off the track and get himself a penalty after the race by the stewards. Yes, TJ, he will. Zidane doing well, up into 12th place off the start. Have a look then at the game positions. As you see, Zidane started in 19th, had a bit of a nightmare in Quali 1. As we see Adrian and E69 once again going side by side through turn 12. And this might be a common battle all night. Kurito, though, had an absolute flyer of a start. You saw there, start is 6th, so on the left-hand side of the grid, and you saw went to the very inside, already was up to 3rd by the time they entered the first corner. I think he's been getting some advice from Ross J on his race starts. I think Mr. Wiggle was just running wide there at turn 19. May have got a warning for that as Josh sets a new fastest lap of the race. Smaller Smiley. 4 seconds off the main bunch of cars. Has Top Gun for company, and Aya has made a mistake in the last lap or so. Finds himself now at the back of the pack. I think it's slightly more common to see pole position converted into a win here, because it's actually quite difficult to follow a car through this first S section in the first sector. But these drivers seem to be proving me wrong at the moment. Not too many gaps in the field. Snacks just for a second slipping out of DRS range of Adrian. As in the foreground, you've got Deflated Wee and Kurito going side by side. E69 made the move on the McLaren. This time the McLaren fighting back on the Red Bull, and now Deflated Wheel with the outside line turns into the inside line for turn 15, and that is a very, very good move. But still, side by side is Carito. This happened on Tuesday night and ended in a horrific crash involving, I think, Tamino and Deflated Wheat. Still going side by side. Carito forced a little bit off track. I'm not sure Deflated Wheat do too much wrong there, just the nature of the corner, and eventually something had to give. But now Killian looking to fight back. Deflated Wheat had the DRS down the main straight after being behind Carito in the detection zone. And Carito and Top Gun getting time penalties at exactly the same time. Saw Carito going wide in the S section. Now Deflated Wheel looking to push on and try and hunt down Josh, who already in the first 3 laps has a 3.3 second lead. Remember, Deflated Wheel leads Josh in the championship by 15 points, so for Josh's perspective, he needs to win here. And if Deflated Wheel can finish off the podium, might find himself leading the championship after the race. But everyone in a bit of a DRS train at the moment. Something has to give, obviously. We will start to see some gaps appear, but at the moment it's pretty close. Deflated Wheel defending from Carito, Killian, Wiggles and TD going side by side as TD looks to have that defence covered off. E69, Adrian, Snacks, all involved in this little train. RP1 Zert maintaining his 10th place start as there's a yellow flag, and E69 going for a spin at the triple right-hander. Very unfortunate. Safety car can still bring you into the race, of course. But now maybe a gap forming between Wiggles and Adrian where E69 was. And little gaps like these will start to form, and people may lose some DRS now and again. Definitely looks like Killian has a lot more confidence in this part of the race. Maybe those hard tyres are just working better for him right now. Deflated Wheel also trying to escape Carito. E69 retired in the pits, so unfortunate for him there. As Aya gets a time penalty down in P18. Plenty going on up and down the field. Hard to know exactly where to look, these front runners. Tend not to make too many mistakes. You see TD there just running wide in the Alpine at turn 19. Bigger battle here for P8. Snacks defending 8th place from Zer, Padge, Zidane, Felix. Joseph Hales has had good recovery drive in this opening 6 laps. Did find himself at the back of the field on the opening lap of the race, now up into 12th. Past Felix in the opening couple of corners, and Joseph here seems to be on a bit of a roll, getting some confidence back after the game seemed to stiff him a little bit. Beautiful overhead shot of 6 or 7 cars running so close to each other. Greg at the back of this always seems to be in contention for some points, and common theme continuing right now. Up here we got TD overtaking Carito. Carito didn't have the DRS down back straight, so what we might call a routine move from TD there with the DRS. Wiggles maybe might be the next one to overtake Carito, who did start 6th place, was as high as 2nd, sorry, after the opening lap or two. Just has dropped down slightly, but still very much in contention for a podium. They say time flies when you're having fun. Well, we're already a quarter of the way through the race, lap 7, and Josh still leads by 3.1 seconds on Deflated Wii. When Deflated Wii overtook Carito for 2nd, he was 3.4 behind, so Deflated Wii hasn't gained too much. It's more just all about stabilising that gap out front, not letting Josh run away with this. On Sunday night we saw Johnny B have a 10-second advantage on 2nd place at one point towards the end of his first stint, and Joseph Hales, I think, has crashed out. And yes, you'd see it there into the wall, and Joseph Hales is out, and that is a virtual safety car. So no full safety car out, but this does count towards the prediction. This is one of the safety cars. And in case you don't know what a virtual safety car is, it's like a safety car coming out, but there isn't one. And every driver has to maintain a certain speed. If you go faster than that when the virtual safety car ends, then you get a drive-through penalty. Thankfully, no one, I'll just check, yep, no one has managed to do that, which is good. And the S section claiming another victim. That's unlucky, Joseph Hales. It happens far too often. It's all the best for next week. Just seemed like today was a bit of a nightmare. Next week, coincidentally, we are at China for the first time on this game. And TD currently running in 4th place, has Carito behind, putting pressure on in the DRS zone. Carito currently more under pressure from Wiggles. Oh, and Snacks has gone round at the top of the hill towards the end of the S section. Was running up in P8, now dropping down to 14th after that spin. Very costly. One mistake here in the 81 tier will cost you a whole load of places. As you see the red light flashing on Carito's Red Bull, meaning he's got around 10% or less ERS storage left to use. Nice little indication to the driver behind that they are running low on ERS. Killian now within DRS range of Deflated Wii. It was just dropped back slightly a couple of tenths from Josh in the last lap. Killian turning the screws slightly. It's Greg losing places now, down to 14th place. Losing more places. I think he's had a bit of a spin at the triple right. Top Gun, Smaller Smiley getting past. Them two have been fighting for a good 5 laps or so now. And Asma Frog spinning at the end of turn 19. Lap 9 of 28. Things have calmed down slightly. We've still got battles up and down the field. Carito has been dropped by TD out of the DRS range. Mr. Wiggles then taking advantage of that. Carito going a bit too deep into turn 12, and Mr. Wiggles says, I will happily perform a switchback manoeuvre on you and take hold of P5. Carito, though, looking to go down the inside of Mr. Wiggles, had a bit of a sighter. I would say that's Mr. Wiggles wasn't at fault there. Carito lost a tiny bit of time, now finds himself under pressure from Adrian. Killian, back-to-back fastest laps, and really is starting to put the pressure on deflated Wii. Now only 4 tenths behind our second place runner. And a yellow flag in Sector 3. Snacks, I believe, has had a mistake at the final corner and has lost a few places. Mr. Wiggles in 5th place, the latest driver to get a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits 3 times. 5 drivers out of the remaining 18 now have time penalties. We saw the vast majority of the field on Tuesday night pick up a penalty as well, so a common occurrence. Killian, not quite close enough to wait to make a move now, as Adrian made his move on Carito. That corner, turn 12 at the end of the DRS zone, seems to have more action on it tonight than the whole James Bond movie. I'm sure it's not going to end now. Snacks, got no feeling in my feet. CBA with the game, that's it for me with F122. Don't want to race anymore. That is completely understandable, mate. Whatever you decide, we respect. Have a bit of a break. Clear your head for next game maybe, or obviously you commentate on Sunday nights, which we very much appreciate. But yeah, just take the pressure off yourself, mate. There's no point doing something you don't enjoy. And Snacks retiring from the Grand Prix. And here we have Killian. Best opportunities had since deflated wheels dropped back by half a second. All this pressure is starting to pay dividends for Killian, as up into second place he now goes. And the question is, can Killian start to reduce that gap out to Josh in first place, who has not put a foot wrong so far and could find himself on for yet another race win. These top 3 could honestly give us the best title championship we've seen in a while. Top 3 only separated by 32 points in the championship. Currently deflated Wii leading the championship is 3rd. So Josh would close the gap out front to 5 points. Killian would gain another 3 points on Wii, but that would still put him 29 points off of the leader. And Killian, slowly but surely, inching his way closer to Josh. Wiggles, the first driver here to get 2 penalties for track extending. 6 seconds now the total. Thank you, Snacks. You too, mate. Make sure you do something fun tonight. Take your mind off things. Lap 12, and lo and behold, gaps are starting to form one second gaps, 2 second gaps, especially in the points, the lower end of the points. Adrian, Carito, Padge all got gaps in front of them. Zidane doing well on those medium tyres to stay within contention of Padge here. Obviously, around now, those mediums are going to start to die and deteriorate, and we may even see Zidane in this lap, as Kilian's that's only fastest lap of the race. And indeed, into the pits comes Zidane, mirroring a strategy from Tuesday night. And Zidane will be onto a set of hard compound tyres for the rest of the Grand Prix. This means Felix will not have DRS on the car ahead. However, Top Gun does, and looking to get past Hissy. Bit of a nudge from Hissy on Top Gun, but nothing harmful happened from that. And Top Gun, after being last or off the pack for large chunks of this race, now finds himself only 8 seconds away from spotting the points. Some good pace here for Top Gun, and might find himself with something to celebrate. As Mr. Wiggles now gaining on TD and making the move down into turn 12. And that gap up front has reduced by about half second since Kilian overtook Wee a few laps ago. Wee is obviously maintaining DRS within a second gap of Kilian in second. But you get the feeling that for Kilian to catch up here, he needs to go for a bit of an undercut opportunity. Undercut in case you're not quite sure what I mean by that. Basically means you're quicker when you have a new set of tyres on the car. So by pitting a lap earlier, Kilian will have a new set of mediums on the car, which will be faster than Josh. By the time Josh pits and gets out of the his pit stop, Kilian will either be closer or overtake. That's what an undercut means. However, a 3-second gap is quite difficult to get an undercut on. By pitting 1 lap earlier, you get the feeling he may need to pit 2 or 3 laps earlier than Josh. Yeah, lads, honestly it happens. And that's part of the reason why I stopped racing for a long stretch of time. I've been in this league since day one, and I've not even hit 40 races yet in this league. I've streamed almost twice as many races as I've raced, so find something you enjoy, whether that be stewarding, streaming. If you don't want to race, that's absolutely fine. Don't worry about that. Instead, find something that gives you life. If that means taking a break, maybe try streaming or stewarding. So Wiggles and TD pitting at exactly the same time. Onto mediums for the rest of the Grand Prix. 14 laps on the mediums, 14 laps on the hard compound tyre. Felix and Hissy also boxing for a new set of tyres, and potentially Mr. Wiggles and TD could be doing that to try and gain some time on Kilian and deflate it. Check in with them with TD, see how he's managing these new tyres. Obviously when you come out of the pits, your tyres are going to be really cold, so by driving quick and putting some friction on them, you warm them up, and eventually you'll start to see Mr. Wiggles close that 6.6 second gap on Padge in P7. RP1 having a wonderful debut so far, up in P6 after those 4 pit stops. Asma Frog also boxes. Mr. Wiggles using a lot of ERS to try and get TD out of his DRS range, and you can see that gap is now starting to fall corner by corner. Mr. Wiggles is going to be gaining on Padge. Oh, and what's happened here? Deflated Wheat into the pits, and certainly seems to be going for a bit of an undercut. Killian, though, and Josh, more importantly, stay out. Killian now only 2.6 behind our race leader. Killian starting to pile the pressure on, but Deflated has gone for the undercut. In a couple of laps' time, when this all resolves and everyone makes their pit stops, we're going to see where that leaves Deflated. But Deflated Wheat out of the pits has plenty of room in front of him. No distractions whatsoever for Deflated. And this could be a very good strategy call from the McLaren driver. IIRL in the pits in the Ferrari. Just not been his day. It's always a shame to see when drivers struggling up there, but next week is a brand new race, a brand new opportunity in China. All the best, IIRL. Some people decide to go into the pits to retire and just come back next week. Others decide to stick it out just in case there's a safety car, or try and get some consistency up if they can. As up in front we have Zidane and Felix flying past RP1 Zer on the new medium tyres. That's how DRS is powerful on this track. As the top bunch of drivers all pits. Josh and Killian pits. Kirito stays out to take the lead, and the question is, where is Deflated Wheat going to head out? You see Killian exiting the pits there, and alongside, oh, contact between the two. Killian, we didn't have the best angle on stream, so hard to see if anyone was at fault there, and if so, who. But certainly Killian has come off the worst and has dropped down to 6th place. Still within DRS range of TD, who's in DRS range of Wiggles, who is still not too far away from Deflated Wheat, so Killian could still gain some places back there, but we might be under investigation from the stewards after the race. Josh, after all this pit stop shenanigans, I'm going to say, has a 2.7 advantage over Deflated Wheat. Now, I'm not expecting Kirito to go any longer on those hard tyres. I expect to see him into the pits this lap. But Josh has still got a very healthy advantage on this race win. And certainly he's not put a foot wrong. His pace has been good, his consistency has been good. He's made the most of the opening few laps where drivers behind him were fighting. Kirito does pit. Should be the last strategic pit stop of the evening. Killian now behind his teammate, who gave him a very impressive slipstream in Q3. As Felix down in 8th place gets a time penalty, might find himself losing a spot to the two Aston Martins, maybe Padge towards the end of the race. TD just weaving the car there slightly, as if to say, Killian, go past. I don't mind you doing that. TD, of course, has a time penalty next to his name, so his job now will be to finish at least 3 seconds ahead of Adrian. whereas Killian can now try and fight back on Wiggles and maybe close that gap to Deflated Wee for P2, but Josh seems to be enjoying these medium tyres at the moment. Now gap up to 3.3, where it's been the vast majority of this Grand Prix so far. Lap 18, 10 laps remaining. And Killian with another fastest lap of the race. He definitely has seemed to have the most pace in the race so far. That's a bit of an ambitious move, bit of a, some might call a dive bomb, but Mr. Wiggles saw it coming and gave the space. Very sportsmanlike of Mr. Wiggles there. Very smooth driving from Killian on board. And who knows where Killian would have been had it not been for that slight bit of contact with Deflated Wee after Killian came out of the pits. Still very much on the podium, as he didn't need to overtake Wiggles to be there, but he has done. And now we'll be hoping to hunt down the top two as best as he can. As for pits, and retires from the Grand Prix. No safety car came out, so Asper Frog decided that was that. Just the one safety car so far this race, a VSC. $15 left in the Grand Prix. E69 retiring in the pits early on. Joseph Hales with a bit of a spin and a crash out, which caused the VSC. Snacks, Aya, Asper Frog also choosing to retire from the Grand Prix in the pits. Killian is catching Deflated, but Deflated is losing time to Josh, so I reckon that Killian's lapping on a pretty similar basis that Josh is, and Deflated Wee just doesn't have that extra 2 or 3 tenths at the moment. Wiggles and TD have done well to stay on that back of Killian in the DRS range. That's only going to benefit them as they look to stay ahead of Adrian in 6th place, who currently is in a bit of no man's land and won't capitalise on the penalties of the two drivers in front of them. Carito in 7th had a fantastic start up to 2nd from 6th place off the grid, and by lap 2 or lap 3 was up into 2nd place, but it's just dropped back, hasn't quite had the pace of those top 6 right now. Felix again has gone a bit under the radar, but on his return after a few races out he's looked pretty sharp, very consistent. He does have that time penalty, but 0 on his debut is looking to impress and get a spot in the top 8. Zidane, the only one who opted for the alternate strategy, started on the mediums, then went onto the hards, might find himself under pressure from Padge for the final point of the Grand Prix. And I'll tell you what, if Padge, who's not feeling 100% today, gets some points tonight, that'll be a great result for him. And in a few laps' time, we're going to have to start thinking about driver of the day. It's hard to look past Josh at the moment, who has been pretty flawless, but right now, Killian and Deflated Wee renewing their rivalry, already making contact once this race. RP1 getting past Felix into the opening corner. Killian here has a really good exit. Mr. Wiggles behind also very close, might find that Deflated Wee loses 2 places here in one go, but Mr. Wiggles not close enough. And there goes Killian into 2nd, but Wee, bit of an unforced error, running wide and getting a time penalty. Mr. Wiggles with 9 seconds of penalties, as TD has made a bit of a mistake and he's now 1.6 behind this group. deflated wheel shouldn't be under threat from losing a podium here. But certainly Killian now has the open road to see if he can attempt to charge down Josh, who at this moment in time is 4.4 seconds in the lead. We mentioned Zidane might be under pressure from Padge. Well, Padge has made that move into turn 12 and now up into 10th. Top Gun now finds himself within DRS range of Zidane. And looking extremely confident on those mediums. Look how much time he gained in that last corner. Killian is flying. He's got that gap down from 4.5 to 4 seconds in half a lap. And yeah, sure, he might be using a load of DRS down the load of ERS down the main straight, but my goodness, he is very quick right now. And with 6 laps remaining plus the one they're on, there is still potential here for Killian to catch Josh, but he needs to gain by, I'd say, over half a second per lap. That's the gauntlet that Killian has. If he manages it, definitely worthy of driver of the day here tonight. Josh so far has raced a flawless Grand Prix. Smaller Smiley overtaking Hissy into turn 12, but a bit of a quiet race for those two. Currently no points on the board for Smiley or Hissy. Huge congratulations to Smiley, by the way. I won't reveal the news. That's Smiley's news to reveals, but huge congratulations. Smiley will know what I'm on about. On the whole, it's been a very good race. Plenty of action, plenty of overtakes, especially into turn 12. And why not join us on Sunday night to see if that common theme continues. Who knows? Watch on Sunday, you might even see me spin a few times. To my knowledge, it's not a known thing. He said something in the party before the race, and so I don't think it's known. I'll let Smiley decide if he wants to reveal that in the Discord, but I just want to say congratulations. It's obviously don't probe and everything. I'll let Smiley reveal as and when the time is right. Mr. Wiggles then has been within DRS range of deflated wheel for a long time. With 9 seconds of time penalties, it's not too much point in overtaking. Instead, might be worth just trying to force deflated wheel to go as quick as he can and try and get some more time penalties in the final few laps. But for deflated wheel to get 2 more track limits penalties would be pretty horrible in the remaining 5 laps. Killian, though, 2.8 now behind the race leader. Top Gun has made his way past Padge for the final point, however has a time penalty, so all Padge needs to do is stay within 3 seconds of Top Gun, who is relentlessly hunting down Felix now for 9th. And a spinning Hissy at turn 1. Out of the points anyways. Mr. Wiggles just running wide, didn't want to run into deflated. Killian's pace on these mediums has been fantastic, but just speaks testament of Josh's opening stint where he had a 3 or 4 advantage, and that opening stint has set him up for success here. Because even if Killian does get within DRS range, it's It's one thing to catch him, it's another thing to pass Josh, as the gap has now reduced to 2.5 seconds, and with 4 laps remaining, the dream is still on for Kilian here. If he can get half a second per lap, he will be within DRS range for the last lap of the Grand Prix. See how quick Top Gun is then. Adrian is keeping his race clean, and as it stands, this might put him in good stead. He's only 3.4 away from TD, who has a 3-second time penalty, so if Adrian can get within 3 seconds of TD at the end of the Grand Prix, we'll be up into 5th. Definitely Adrian will be ahead of Mr. Wiggles, who has 9 seconds total in penalties so far. So TD is due at the moment to jump up into the top 4. RP1 Zert has plenty of space ahead of him. Unfortunately for him, Carito only has 6 seconds. Get the penalties up now for the rest of the race. You can all do your quick maths at home. And coming into turn 19, Josh leads by 2.3 seconds, so Kilian has gained yet another 2 or 3 tenths this lap, but maybe not quite enough, as you see Top Gun now going down the inside of Felix. Bit of a wiggle from Top Gun. Would have been a top move. Going for a switchback, low on energy, red flashing light round the outside of this right-hander. This would be a fantastic move if he got this done. They are side by side, and that is actually a very, very difficult move. It is not easy to go around the outside of someone there through that triple apex right. And Top Gun should be very proud of that move. In the end, it may not count for much. He may still lose that place to Felix, but certainly a good overtake for the portfolio. As Kilian now 1.8 behind our race leader. Could he do it? Padge will get some points. Is due to jump ahead of both Top Gun and Felix on time penalties at the moment. Zidane may also still be within a shout of jumping ahead of Felix and Top Gun, meaning that Top Gun and Felix may not even finish in the points at this rate. 1.8 gap out front. After this lap, they have 2 remaining. At this pace, Kilian will not catch Josh in time. Josh has just put some extra pace into his laps, the last couple. As Kilian, down the main straight, reduces the gap out front to 1.5. If Kilian can get within a second on the final lap, there may still be a chance. A very slim chance, perhaps. And we have no idea how many warnings those top 2 are on. Maybe Josh is on 2 warnings here and has had to drive extra conservative to make sure that he doesn't get a 3-second time penalty and lose this race win. Deflated Wee, since getting that time penalty, has just backed off slightly from that top 2, has allowed them to fight and made sure that he hasn't made any more mistakes that will cost him 3rd place. As it stands, Adrian will jump up to 4th ahead of TD, but Mr. Wiggles will jump back to 6th on time penalties. So far this lap, Kilian has not gained. It has been a valiant effort, and one that I'd never thought it was possible to do what he's done so far. But Josh has got a bit of extra pace in the bank. That gap seems at the moment to be too big after those pit stops. That 4-second gap was just a bit too much to close, as Smaller and Wiggles now get another time penalty. It shouldn't cost Wiggles an extra place behind Carito, with Carito 6 seconds, but Killian here 1.3 now out of the first corner. It seems like Killian has good straight line speed, but Josh capitalises in the corners. You can see Josh just inching ahead as the gap now 1.2. Killian, this is a remarkable push for a potential late winning opportunity here. And has he got DRS? I'm not sure he has DRS, you know. And for all of that pushing, if he were not to get DRS here, that would be the most heartbreaking way to finish second. And no DRS open for the Alpine. All Josh needs to do is keep it clean for the last sector of the Grand Prix. Zidane gets a time penalty. That may cost him a shot at some points. Well, this race has finished the same way qualifying finished. In this exact order, all three of the top three held pole position in the final 20 seconds of qualifying. So far, it's Josh and Killian who have taken this race by storm. And in the end, Josh's first stint has won him this Grand Prix by less than a second. Killian, fantastic drive to push him all the way, but just ran out of laps in the end. Deflated Wee comes across the line in third, a well-deserved podium. And Adrian will come across the line to make it a McLaren 3-4. TD and Wiggles, those time penalties just hurt them in the end. But still, very good drives on their respective parts. Carito, what could have been a possible podium after that immense start up to second place on the opening few laps. But in the end, just didn't quite have the pace. And will finish in 7th. RP1 on his debut, fantastic top 8 performance as Padge jumps ahead of his teammate into the points, and Top Gun misses out on 1 point in the championship by a 1/10 of a second. Very unlucky there, but well done to Felix on his return after a few races out. Zidane went for the alternate strategy. In the end, just didn't quite work out for him, and that late time penalty cost him a point at the end of the Grand Prix. Smaller Smiley gets the fastest lap of the race at the very end, and Greg always can count on him to finish a race. This time, didn't finish in the points. Brings out the rear in 14th. ITD. Nice race, Tom Dog. Baker had to underfuel by 1.5 laps. Oh wow. So some fuel saving going on there. GG, says TJ. Certainly. Very good race. Wasn't the most dramatic, but we had some very dramatic moments in that. But Josh, after that first stint, led by 4.4 seconds, I think. Very impressive stuff on the opening stint, and indeed set him up for success. Killian had very good pace towards the end, and almost had the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as well, but just missing out. A little incident with Deflated Wee coming out of the pits maybe cost a P4. Nice race there. Exactly where he started. TD and Mr. Wiggles pretty much where they started as well. Those time penalties just costing them at the end. Carito's Padge, Felix all in the points. Congrats. DNFs, Hissy, Asmafrog, Aya, Snacks and E69 all retiring in the pits off their own choice. Joseph Hales, who's had a bit of a nightmare with the game today, excuse me, had a bit of a spin and crashed out unfortunately. Well, I am going to rest my voice now. Wasn't feeling 100%, but got the stream out for you. Hope you enjoy it if you're watching back, or if you are been watching live the whole time. Small Signy, fastest lap of the race. Counts for something, especially in this tier. And driver of the day. Oh, who driver of the day is going to be? Certainly very impressive drives here tonight. Padge not feeling 100%, gaining places up into the points. Definitely special mention to him. Obviously, Josh and Killian stole the show. And that drama in qualifying as well was very memorable. Won't forget that one in a while. Driver of the day, I think, has to be for Josh. Didn't put a foot wrong, had the pace, kept ahead of Killian, didn't crumble under pressure, and I think well deserving of a driver of the day. Obviously special mention Killian. Adrian as well, great drive again. TD on 4 hours sleep and Padge not feeling the 100%, and also Zer on his debut. Some very impressive drives out there tonight.